Hello, I'm Professor Patel. I'm going to take you through some of the rhetorical aspects of Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell. This is a narrative. He tells a story. He gives us lots of descriptive details. Ultimately, it is an argument, and it's an argument against empire. Empire is the act of one country becoming very powerful and taking over other countries and ruling them. And in this case, Orwell works for the British Empire. He's a young police officer, and he's going to tell us a hard lesson that he learned about the British Empire and about empires in general. He starts off this essay, first of all, just talking about the title, Shooting an Elephant. That's the central action of the story. But the essay is about much more than just shooting this elephant. And Orwell is going to mix in commentary and analysis with the story to give us an idea of why empire is bad, why empire is wrong. Okay? He starts off talking about how he was hated by large numbers of people. Just like any essay, the writer wants to start off with something that gets the reader's attention. Okay, and they also want to introduce their topic and their situation. So in this essay, Orwell starts off right away giving us information about his position. He was a police officer in the British Empire in the nation of Burma. And at this time, the British Empire was also uh, colonizing India and other places around the world. So it was a large empire. He starts off right away talking about this, how he was hated by the natives of Burma, and also gives us lots of examples of that hate in general towards white Europeans. Women being spit on in the marketplace, uh, Orwell himself being tripped on the soccer field. He calls it a football field, but I mean, it's soccer to us. And the referees not um, penalizing the person who tripped him because they were all Burmans and he was a white European. He also talks about people in cages. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? He talks about a lot of examples that show us that empire is bad. And he also tells us that he'd already decided that empire was bad and that he hated it. So he's sort of stuck in between the empire and the people he's supposed to be trying to control. Uh, his thesis is that sentiment that at the time he knew that empire was bad, but he was stuck working for it. And that's on page 280 in your book. Uh, so he mixes examples and analysis in the second paragraph to support his claim. He adds background about the British Empire and about how they operated in Burma. It sounds like there was torture, there was terror, there was control, all of these things that the British was doing to try to control the Burmese people. And what were they there for? They were there. He doesn't go into this, but empires are usually in another, usually smaller, less powerful country to take the resources. Okay. So in paragraph 3, he begins the narrative about the elephant. So he introduces the problem. He is notified that there is something wrong in a village. An elephant has gone on the rampage and that they want him to come and do something about it. And right away, he's not sure, what he can do about it. He takes a rifle, a 44 caliber, which he says he knows is not enough to kill an elephant, but he takes it anyway and sets out on a pony to try to find this elephant. Paragraph 4 continues the narrative. There is some commentary about the nature of news in the East. So in these colonies, right, that you hear a story, and the closer you get to it, the stranger the story gets, and the details get more fuzzy. Okay, so he's trying to find where this elephant is. He does find he sees a bunch of children, naked children, being shooed away by a woman. He comes around a corner, and we get a very graphic description of a corpse. And this is one of the ways that Orwell develops his paragraphs and uses his argument is graphic descriptions. He wants to put us there and make us feel what he sees. He describes the corpse in detail of this Indian Dravidian coolie who was killed. He talks about, and he even goes into how most of the faces of corpses that he's seen are devilish, in his words. He's doing all this to bring us in there and to make us feel the horrible nature of the situation that he's in. Okay, he paragraph 6, he transitions. He also talks about compares the elephant to being like a piece of machinery, a valuable piece of machinery, and that destroying it would cost a lot of money to somebody, and he could get in trouble for it. And once again, this is about resources, right? In empires, e- everything is has a value. Everything has a measured value to the state, to the people, and that's what makes this even more difficult. He doesn't want to kill this elephant. He doesn't like his job. Okay, and the elephant, by the time he finds it, it's in a peaceful state. As this is going on in paragraph 7, the tension reaches its peak, and he's a large crowd has gathered behind him, and it's a crowd of Burmese. They're natives. He keeps referring to the yellow faces looking at him. Now, if you can imagine this, what he's trying to set up is uh, it's almost kind of like a parallel between him being stuck. He's always stuck in the middle, right? He's stuck between the empire and the natives. Now he's stuck between the elephant and the natives. And the natives expect him to do something. He thinks that the crisis is over, even though the elephant has killed a person and has destroyed fruit stalls and shops. He does not think it needs to be killed, but he's got this massive crowd behind him, 2,000 people. That's a lot of people to have behind you. Now, I want to make something clear. This is not peer pressure. A lot of people say, well, he's under peer pressure. These people are not his peers. Technically, he's ruling these people, but he's one man here with an elephant gun now. He's sent back the other gun, and he's got this massive crowd of restless natives behind him. And he's looking at this elephant, and they are all expecting him to do something. In other words, to shoot it. So the tension is rising. He gives us more commentary and analysis. And you want to keep your eyes out for this as you're reading the essay. His commentary is very sparse. It's not, he doesn't go on and on about things. He gives us really uh, concise, impactful sentences that give us what this essay is about. So, why is he telling us this story about having to track down and kill this elephant? And one of the reasons is exactly what he says in paragraph 7. It's on page 283 in your essays book. And he says, when the white man turns tyrant, it is his own freedom he destroys. And I almost think this is his thesis, right? This is what this is all about. He's supposed to be the powerful person here, but instead he becomes a puppet for the crowd, a puppet for the empire. In essence, he has no freedom, even though he's the person in charge. He has to kill this elephant, or the crowd might go crazy, or he might look foolish, right? He might be, they will laugh at him if he does nothing. he This essay is really about the futility of empire and the futility of the white man's projects in the East in countries like Burma or India or even Africa, which is not exactly the East, but this is futile, right? That all these things are not only going to dehumanize the people who are being ruled, the Burmese, but as we see, they take away the freedom of the rulers as well in individuals like Orwell. So in paragraph 8, he tries to hesitate. He doesn't want to kill the elephant. It's another transitional paragraph. In paragraph 9, he's debating again whether or not to kill the elephant. He's worried. He's getting more worried about what the crowd thinks of him and how he will look if things go wrong, right? So it's like if the elephant comes at him and he gets knocked over or he gets stomped on, even killed, he's not worried about dying, strangely enough. He's worried about what the crowd will think of him. And this is more commentary on these perceptions between these Burmese people, who he refers to as the yellow faces, and the natives, and white people, white Europeans, right? That as a white man and as a police officer for the empire, he can't look like he's scared. He can't look like he's frightened. So he talks about filling a mask, right? That when a country starts an empire, they create a role for themselves, and eventually everybody has to fit into that role. And that's where he is now in this situation. Paragraph 10, he finally shoots the elephant. It takes 3 shots, and the elephant, we get another graphic description of the elephant falling down, and it trumpets once before it falls after his third shot, and it's still alive. In paragraph 11, the elephant is still alive. It's bleeding. Uh, it's um, it's dying, but it takes a long time to die. He gets another gun and keeps shooting into the elephant. And what happens is it just doesn't die. He eventually leaves and it's still breathing. And the natives all come running up because they want the meat from the elephant. And he finds out that by the end of the day, it was stripped down to the bones um, by the crowd. Paragraph 12 is a transition to conclude to it, he transitions to his conclusion, and this is actually where he leaves and the natives strip the elephant to the bones. And 13 is his conclusion, and it's after the whole incident. We can imagine him back at the police station, and they're having a conversation about whether he was right or wrong to shoot the elephant. Okay, and he still regrets doing it. He was not happy about it, but he is justified since the elephant killed that Indian worker, and and people are debating, oh well, you should have killed it, and then younger cops are saying, hey, what a waste, you shot an elephant. No, that's worth a lot of money. And Orwell ends with the real reason that he did not shoot the elephant, and that was to avoid looking like a fool. And in the cases of empire, eventually everybody from the king or queen or person in charge of the empire down to an individual police officer like Orwell is in this essay, a lot of their time is spent trying not to look like a fool. So ultimately, the essay is about the white man as a tyrant, or white people as tyrants. And their position is much more precarious than they seem. They're not really, eventually, they're not in power. They are the ones being controlled, and they are the ones who lose their freedom. And it also dehumanizes the natives. So Orwell uses description, he uses narrative, and he mixes in very sparsely analysis and commentary. And what I want you to take away from this is that you don't need a lot of analysis and commentary, but you do need it. What people are going to remember is that narrative, that description, those details. Put them there, make them experience it. That's what Orwell does. Thank you.